To save the love-deprived Yandere female lead, I arranged the best hospital room and medical team for her. On top of that, I gave her an extra 100,000 yuan a month as pocket money. She was so moved she immediately cut ties with the male lead and willingly became my personal maid. However, though she appeared to obey my every word on the surface, she had already thrown herself into the male lead's arms behind my back. While spending my money, she flirted sweetly with the male lead, plotting how to steal my family fortune. So I said, why bother trying to conquer the female lead? Wouldn't destroying her be better? For a woman who's destined to kill you later on, trying to reform her with love, isn't that just plain stupid? Chapter 1. I transmigrated into a novel featuring a Yandere female lead. The first time I met her, it was pouring rain. Everyone was running forward, but she, without an umbrella, walked slowly through the downpour. The system said, hurry, go hold an umbrella over her and make a good impression. I strolled over with my umbrella at a lazy pace. When I passed by her, I sneered and said with disdain, an idiot who doesn't even know to take cover when it rains. He'd still drool even after getting cured. After that, I dusted off my custom-made designer suit, adjusted my Patek Philippe watch, and walked off coolly. The system was dumbfounded. The female lead was also dumbfounded. Chapter 2. Sitting in a Rolls-Royce, I ran my fingers across the genuine leather seats like someone who'd never seen the world, amazed at the luxury lifestyle of the rich. The system said, what the hell was that just now? That was the female lead, for crying out loud. I shifted into a comfy position and rolled my eyes. So what if she's the female lead? Just because she's a bit pretty, I'm supposed to simp for her. The system, if you still want to return to your original world, you need to conquer her. I asked, what? You mean I can stay here forever? That's great news. There's food, drinks, luxury cars. This is heaven. Come on. I've read so many transmigration novels, and now it's finally my turn. Why would I want to go back? Back to being a miserable corporate drone. The system was speechless. It kept trying to persuade. You're playing the role of the villain, a second male lead. Once the male and female leads get together, they'll destroy your family business. How will you keep enjoying all this then? Staring at the skyscrapers flashing past the window, I paused for a moment and asked, how long until my family goes bankrupt? The system, 10 years. I let out a long sigh. After enjoying life for so many years, a little hardship at the end is fair enough. Besides, being the villain, a second male lead, means I can do whatever I want, act crazy whenever I feel like it. That fits perfectly with my mental state. The system was silent. It started thinking that next time it should never pick someone poor to be a target for world hopping. Over the next few days, I busied myself enjoying the life of a rich heir. As for the female lead, already out of sight, out of mind, perched on a golden, diamond-studded toilet, I marveled at how decadent the original owner's lifestyle was. What I earned in a year of grinding would barely be enough to buy one roll of his toilet paper. Now that I was here, I was determined to live up to the role, to enjoy his luxurious, lazy lifestyle to the fullest. I started spending recklessly. If I wanted something, I bought it. I ate everything I hadn't dared eat when I was a broke corporate worker. This world, you bring nothing into it and take nothing out. What matters is enjoying it. Only experiences are truly your own, and I had more than enough money. Spending money is just contributing to the economy, after all. Looking at the garage full of luxury cars and rooms piled high with gaming rigs, I screamed with joy like a crazed baboon. Swiping a black card feels amazing. The system still hadn't given up trying to bring me back to the right path. All these things are just external. Don't you feel empty inside? Don't you feel bored? I replied honestly, not really. I began throwing money into online games like crazy, started by recharging 2 million, then spent even more to build the top guild in the whole server. Being rich is just that awesome. By day, I was the ultimate boss in the game. By night, I grabbed my luxury car keys and headed out. The system thought its lectures were finally working and said, "You're finally listening." "Excuse me, what kind of nonsense is that?" With a wicked grin, I said, "Don't overthink it. I'm just going to the bar to pick up some hot models." The system was speechless. Humming a tune, I walked out the door. In my original world, I'd never even kissed a girl in over 20 years. This time, I'm going to fully savor the taste of a woman. Chapter 3. I drove my Maybach to the most expensive, money-burning nightclub in the city. The lighting was dim and dazzling, the music thunderous, and strangers swayed to the beat. The air was thick with the scent of various perfumes. Perfect, this was exactly the kind of place I'd been looking for. The moment I stepped inside, a manager bent at the waist and rushed over. "Young Master Victor, what have you been busy with these past few days? We haven't had the honor of your presence." I walked inside without changing expression, taking off my coat lazily as I said, "None of your damn business." In the novel, Victor was described as a brainless side character, an evil rich second-generation heir who looked down on people with contempt and acted like he owned the world. On the surface, everyone treated him with fawning respect, and in reality, it was the same. That was the only part one could never understand. No matter how awful Victor was, he always had a bunch of fiercely loyal lackeys. Now that I had taken over his life, of course, I continued this fine tradition. The man's face nearly folded with a sycophantic smile as he followed behind me, nodding and bowing. "You're absolutely right, young master. We've got a new batch of fresh girls in tonight. Care for a taste?" I kept a straight face, but inside I was already bursting with excitement. Damn, after over 20 years of virgin life, I finally get to know the taste of a woman. Sponsoring some beautiful girls at a nightclub had been a dream of mine since I was a kid. I gave a casual and paused before entering the private room. I asked, "They're clean, right?" He replied immediately, "Absolutely." Satisfied, I stepped into the VIP lounge. After all, I still had 10 years of luxury to enjoy. No way I was going down early due to carelessness. My heart started racing. Tonight, I was going to push my limits. I waited in the lounge for a bit, and soon someone came in with 5 or 6 gorgeous girls. "Young Master Victor," he said, "these are the best of the bunch." Spinning my car keys between my fingers, I casually looked them over one by one. There were sultry ones, innocent ones, cute ones, and spicy hot ones, each with their own unique charm. Then my eyes landed on a bunny girl with gloomy, world-weary eyes, yet a beauty so striking it was hard to look away. I narrowed my eyes. Damn, this plot-controlled life. In the original story, there was a scene where the female lead, Serafina, had to come to a bar and work as a hostess to pay for her critically ill mother's treatment. She caught the eye of the evil second male lead, Victor, who humiliated her, only for the male lead to heroically show up and rescue the damsel in distress. That scene laid the groundwork for the development between the two leads. And yet here I was. Despite deliberately avoiding the time and place, it still caught up to me. The system's eyes lit up. "It's the female lead. Go seize the opportunity." I got up and walked over to Serafina, stopping right in front of her. Raising an eyebrow, I said, "Well, if it isn't that brain-dead girl who stood in the rain." Serafina snapped her head up, her dark eyes locking onto mine. Someone next to us smiled obsequiously and asked, "You know her, young Master Victor?" I yawned, ignored the question, and lifted my hand. "Her. I'll take her." The system asked, "What the hell are you doing?" Serafina has a very strong sense of pride. She's twisted and cynical. "If you humiliate her like this, you're asking to get killed." I laughed. "Isn't that better? If I fail the mission, you can just assign another conqueror. You clearly can't stand me anyway." The system replied, "Fine. A Halfist conquest is still a conquest. As long as it involves the female lead, it counts." It gave up struggling entirely. To be honest, choosing Serafina wasn't just about pissing off the system. Damn it. Out of all these people, Serafina was the most beautiful, and I'm not the kind of guy who mistreats his own body. Serafina's face flushed red with indignation as she snapped, "I'm not doing this kind of thing." She was desperate, but not to the point of selling her body. I got interested and asked, "Then what do you do?" Her tone was icy as she replied, "Waitress." I curled my lips into a smirk and said slowly, word by word, "Exactly. A waitress who serves me. Serving me is still serving. The only difference is the target, but the payment multiplies by dozens of times." Serafina frowned deeply, let out a cold snort, took off her headband, and turned to leave. Seeing her about to walk away, the supervisor panicked, afraid I'd get mad. He quickly grabbed her and hissed in a low, threatening tone, "Think about your mom in the hospital before making a decision." I said lazily, "Come with me, and I'll give you 100 grand a month. I'll get your mom the best room and medical team." "How about it?" Serafina stopped in her tracks. She didn't answer, but silence was the best answer. I sneered. Throwing money at people felt damn good. If someone refuses, it only means the offer isn't high enough. Everyone has a weakness. Once you find it, no one would abandon their family for the sake of so-called pride. I waved my hand. The supervisor very tactfully led the others out and shut the door to the private room. The room fell into silence. I turned and walked toward the bedroom inside. Seeing she was still standing there like a statue, I frowned and said, "What are you doing just standing there? Come here." Only then did Serafina move, raising her leg to follow behind me. The bedroom was tastefully decorated with a large bed in the center. What was going to happen next went without saying. I said, "Close the door. Take off your clothes." Serafina walked up to me, hesitating. I urged impatiently, "Hurry up. I'm a violent and arrogant villain. I'm not going to play gentle." She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and with trembling hands began unbuttoning her top. "Open your eyes. Look at me," I ordered. Serafina bit her lip hard and suddenly opened her eyes, meeting my playful gaze. I smiled in satisfaction, enjoying the sight of her shame-filled, unwilling submission. The system, with its eyes shut tight, frantically tried to dissuade me. "Think again. Aren't you afraid Serafina might stab you halfway through? You're humiliating her with money. When the male and female leads come for revenge, you'll be done for." Humiliation with money? How is that humiliation? Saying that is what truly insults money. I snapped. "You're too noisy. Want to watch a two-person death match?" The system activated block external input mode. I looked over Serafina's body, my face calm, but my heart in turmoil. Gotta admit, she's the female lead for a reason. Her figure was even better than I imagined. Hourglass shape, skin smooth like jade, not an ounce of fat. How could anyone resist that? I swallowed hard, unable to stop myself from reaching out. The next second, Serafina let out a soft gasp. Her forehead was already covered in a fine layer of sweat. She bit her lower lip tightly, her face red as if she had a fever. Her expression was a mix of shame and restraint. However, just as I was about to take the next step, I suddenly realized something was terribly wrong. Chapter 4. Serafina turned out to be on her period. Damn it, no wonder she agreed so easily. Classic move from a Yandere heroine, always scheming. She stepped out of the bathroom, and I stared at her with a cold expression. "Why are you just standing there? Get on the bed." Serafina frowned. "In this state, you still want to continue?" I let out a cold snort. "What are you thinking? I told you to give me a massage. I don't want to fight in blood. Even if she's very beautiful, but I couldn't just let her leave either. People were waiting outside. If she walked out now, everyone would think I couldn't handle her. That'd be embarrassing." While she massaged me, I didn't keep my hands to myself. When my palm touched her skin, she let out a soft, involuntary gasp. Her ears turned red. She frowned slightly and muttered, "Young Master Victor, there are people outside." I looked up and said, "Are you telling me how to do things now? Who's the sugar daddy here, you or me?" That shut her up immediately. Her expression soured, but she said nothing more. I didn't care about her mood. I was enjoying myself just fine. Just as I was relaxing, someone knocked on the door. I frowned. Who the hell had the nerve to interrupt me? Normally, no one dared come near Victor's VIP room without his explicit permission. Today, of all days, when everyone knew I was having a good time, someone still dared approach. Clueless idiot. I got up and opened the door, annoyed. "What is it?" The club manager bent over nervously, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Young master, there's a man who insists on seeing Serafina." I tried to stop him, but he said he'd wreck the place if I didn't let him through. I snapped, "Useless." Just as I finished speaking, someone broke free and rushed at me, shouting, "What did you do to Serafina?" I narrowed my eyes and asked, "And who the hell are you?" He glared back. "Kaido. I'm a friend of Serafina's." I laughed silently. Of course, the male lead, always late, but never absent. Kaido's face was full of, "Where's Serafina? What did you do to her?" I replied casually, "A man and a woman alone in a room. What do you think we were doing?" My robe was hanging loosely on my body, and my expression made it obvious someone had just interrupted something good. Kaido looked stunned. "No way. I don't believe you. Let Serafina tell me herself." Right on cue, Serafina walked out from the bedroom. She seemed to have come looking for me since I hadn't returned. I leaned against the door frame lazily. This gentleman says he's your friend. He wants to hear from you. What were we just doing in there? Serafina was wrapped in a towel, showing smooth, delicate skin. Her face was still flushed, and a few beads of sweat clung to her forehead. Noticing this, Kaido's eyes turned red. He bit his lip, his voice hoarse. Is it true what they said? Serafina didn't even glance at him. She looked straight at me and said, Young Master Victor, I don't know him. Kaido stood there stunned. I chuckled, unsurprised. I'd already predicted this would happen. In the original story, the male lead Kaido is a gentle and devoted man, while the female lead Serafina is a classic Yandere girl. The plot goes something like this. Kaido, disheartened and lost in life, gets snapped back to reality by a few harsh words from the cynical, world-weary Serafina. From that moment, Kaido starts pursuing her madly. Over time, Serafina starts to like him back, and eventually Kaido becomes a beam of light that redeems her dark world. It's your typical healing love story about two broken people saving each other. Right now in the story, Serafina has only just met Kaido a few days ago, and he's deep into his enthusiastic pursuit. But in reality, Serafina barely even remembers who he is. I watch from the side, clearly enjoying the drama. You hear that, bro? She said she doesn't even know you. Go home early. This place really isn't for you. Kaido just stood there, staring blankly at Serafina. I threw an arm around Serafina and said with a smirk, my back's still sore. Keep massaging me, will you? Then I shut the door, blocking the stares from everyone outside. This little scene obviously didn't affect my mood. Before long, I was sound asleep. But once Serafina saw me sleeping, she stopped what she was doing and glared at me with a shadowy expression in her eyes. I slept like a baby. When I woke up the next morning, I saw Serafina curled up on the couch. Ignoring the bed and choosing the couch. Is she avoiding me, or just afraid I'll avoid her? I walked over and gave her a pat. Very soft. Serafina jolted awake. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw me standing over her, arms crossed, looking down impatiently. I said, get up. You sleep like a dead pig. Serafina stood up and snapped, can I leave now? I chuckled. Leave? You spent the night and earned yourself 100,000 yuan, plus access to medical resources for your mom. You really think you're worth that much? What? You think you're some kind of courtesan I'd throw money at just to see you smile? Maybe check if you're even worth it first. Serafina's face flushed with anger. She bit her lip and asked, then what else do you want from me? I grinned. Be my full-time, 24-hour personal maid. Wherever I go, you go. Whatever I tell you to do, you do. Until I get tired of you, of course. You're free to quit anytime. But just so you know, the medical help for your mother ends with it. Sounds fair, doesn't it? I patted her face lightly and thought to myself, no wonder she's the female lead. Even without makeup, she's stunning. Under my mocking gaze, Serafina nodded. We walked out of the private room together. Someone came up immediately. Young Master Victor, how was the girl last night? He looked at Serafina like she was some item that could fetch a nice price. I replied lazily, she's coming with me. Got it, he said. Just as we stepped out of the bar, Kaido rushed up. His eyes were dark, his face tired, clearly hadn't slept a wink all night waiting by the door. I shrugged and said, I'll wait for you in the car. Handle this quickly. Kaido asked, Serafina, you didn't do this willingly, right? There must be something going on. Just tell me, we'll figure it out together. You don't have to throw yourself away like this. As I walked off, I heard Kaido's words behind me and thought, Simp always finds excuses for the girl. Though to be fair, he wasn't wrong. But a simp licking boots ends up with nothing. I had just gotten into the car when Serafina joined me. I teased, wow, that was fast. Serafina clearly didn't want to engage, but I didn't mind poking for gossip. I asked, so what did you tell your sweet, caring big brother? She snorted coldly. Told him not to bother me anymore. What I do has nothing to do with him. I laughed. Damn, that's cold. The guy stood outside all night, and you dropped that on him. He's got to be crushed. Serafina pouted. Do you have to be so annoying? My face instantly changed. I snapped. Yeah, I am that annoying. Can't take it? Then get the hell out. Serafina had a temper too. She slammed the car door and walked off. Chapter 5. 3 minutes later, Serafina got back into the car. I sat in the back seat and sneered. Did I say you could get in? Get the hell out. Serafina glanced at me awkwardly, then stepped out of the car again. A moment later, She knocked on the window. I nodded, giving her permission to enter, and said, "Remember this. I'll tolerate your attitude once. Pull that again, and I won't be so generous." For a while, the car was silent. Eventually, it was Serafina who broke the silence. "So where are we going?" I replied coldly, "To the Chun estate." Yes, the estate named after Victor was built by his father the moment he was born. The sole purpose of it was to let everyone in City A know that Victor Chun is the one and only heir of the Chun family. Serafina gave a soft nod and said nothing more, simply examining the car's interior. I leaned back in the rear seat and closed my eyes to rest. The next second, a robotic voice chimed in. "So, did you really sleep with the female lead?" Ugh, that annoying system was back online. I ignored it, but it kept going. "Honestly, it's a miracle she didn't kill you. I was already prepping for the next host in case you got offed." I rolled my eyes. The system sounded smug. "How'd you manage that?" "Not bad. Seems like you've got some skills after all. Not bad for someone I personally selected as the conqueror." I sneered. "Didn't even sleep with her." The system paused. Then what did you guys even do last night? Seriously, what a pain. Everyone else's system is like a wingman. Why is mine such a dumbass?" Seeing I still wasn't replying, it pulled up the log from last night. After reading it, it sighed in relief. "Phew. All right, at least you didn't mess things up too badly." Then, sounding pleased, it said, "You've improved. Bringing the female lead home, smart move. Gotta get close to the water if you want to catch the moon." I replied, "I just think someone like her is safest under my nose. Keep her trapped, cut her off from the male lead. How else am I supposed to stop her from wrecking my family?" The system was speechless. Once the car pulled into the estate, Mr. Chun came out to greet us with his usual respectful tone. Young Master Victor's personality was very much shaped by his upbringing, never lacking money, but always lacking love. His parents had been doing business overseas for years. This massive estate was inhabited only by me, Mr. Chun, and 2 housemates. Mr. Chun turned his eyes to Serafina, who was standing quietly with her head lowered. "And this young lady is?" I said casually, "My newly hired maid." Mr. Chun replied, "Understood." Mr. Chun was a professional butler my father hired with a high salary. He never asked questions and only followed my orders to the letter. So Serafina became my personal maid, serving my meals, dressing me, keeping me company for entertainment, and occasionally becoming the target of my mockery and contempt. She made me a cake once, and I snapped. "This thing's so sweet it's disgusting. How the hell did you learn maid etiquette? Didn't Mr. Chun teach you anything?" Mr. Chun bowed slightly. "She has been taught everything, young master." Serafina looked at the cake I'd slapped onto the floor. She bent down to clean up, voice filled with grievance. "I'll make another one." I sneered. "Like the second one will be any less disgusting." Another time, she ran me a bath, and I found something to nitpick again. "This water's boiling hot. You're trying to cook me alive." Serafina frowned. "You've had a mild cold the past 2 days." I let out a cold laugh. "Right. More like you're using this as an excuse to get back at me." Maybe it was all the losing in video games lately, but my temper had hit rock bottom. I'd been snapping at Serafina almost constantly, and yet she endured it all. I stood at the window watching Serafina in the garden below as she practiced trimming flower branches under the butler's instruction. The system came online and silently watched with me. I asked, "Didn't you say the female lead has a huge ego, that she wouldn't submit easily?" "System, you're badass." I laughed. "You can be badass too." The system was confused. I said, "You're badass at bragging." "The system has muted your messages." Pissing off the system had become part of my daily routine. After roasting it, my mood lifted, so I decided to take Serafina out for a meal. As we walked, I frowned and said, "Why are you walking like that? You think you're a pair of premium running shoes?" Serafina was speechless. The next second, a surprised voice suddenly called from ahead, "Serafina." Of course, just like a proper male and female lead, they always seemed to accidentally run into each other. Kaido had clearly spotted us too. His expression instantly soured, and in a flash, he rushed over and barked at me. "What are you doing here?" I responded impatiently. "I should be asking you that. Don't tell me you're stalking her, following Serafina around all day. How do you manage to pop up everywhere?" What happened next was truly unexpected. Serafina suddenly grabbed onto my arm and said, "Let's go. Ignore this lunatic." Kaido's face turned pale, but he tried to hold himself together. Seraphina, I need to talk to you, just the two of us. Honestly, I had zero interest in the romance plot between the leads. I was just here to enjoy my 10-year ride as a rich second-gen heir. Eventually, I'd vanish from this world, and that would be that. I was about to say I'd go browse the gold shop next door. Even with all my wealth, I still had my broke habits. Gold always had a special place in my heart. But then Seraphina suddenly said, "There's nothing for us to talk about." With that, she held my arm tighter and turned to leave with me. Kaido stood there in the mall, shouting at our backs. "I know your mom's sick. You're only with him because you need money for her treatment, right?" I knew there was something deeper going on. I raised an eyebrow. Wow, the simp wasn't as clueless as I thought. I turned my head to see Seraphina's reaction. She stared at Kaido with cold eyes and replied icily, "I already told you. My life has nothing to do with you. We've only met twice. Don't you think you're being way too nosy?" Kaido's eyes instantly filled with tears. Even I, the designated villain of this story, felt a little sorry for him. I sighed inwardly. Seraphina's tongue was savagely blunt. No doubt she's going to end up chasing him later in full regret mode. That whole chasing her men after burning the bridge arc, guaranteed. On the way back, Seraphina was clearly in a low mood. I wisely kept my mouth shut. After all, I was still a little afraid she'd go Polyandra and murder me in my sleep, and I hadn't had nearly enough fun with this rich kid lifestyle yet. Chapter 6. Seraphina was getting better and better at being a maid, attentive, precise, even making it hard for me to pick on her on purpose. Not only that, but when I scolded or punished her, she no longer talked back. That only made me look like a petty clown. One day after dinner, Seraphina hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Can I ask you for something?" I was lounging lazily in the hanging chair, sunbathing. "Go ahead." She pursed her lips. "Can I visit my mom? I haven't seen her once these past days. She might be worried something's happened to me." I smiled. "Sure." Seraphina looked stunned, clearly not expecting me to agree so easily. I smirked. "But there's a condition." She nodded. Of course, she knew I wouldn't let her off that easily. "What condition?" I said. "Finish what we didn't finish that night at the bar." My eyes drifted deliberately to her pale, slender legs, and I swallowed hard. Her period had ended days ago. I needed to sleep with Seraphina soon, otherwise if I went offline someday, I'd have regrets. After all, I'd be a man who slept with the female lead. Seraphina pressed her lips into a thin line, hesitation all over her face. Seeing her reluctance, my temper flared. She made me look like some villain forcing himself on a helpless woman. I scowled. "What's with the act? You could have left long ago if you didn't want this." I hate women who pretend to be something they're not. Seraphina's body visibly tensed, but I didn't care what she thought. I slapped her cheek playfully and said flippantly, "Tonight, make sure you're clean. I've got a thing about hygiene." Then I walked off coolly, leaving her alone on the balcony. Out of sight, Seraphina clenched her fists, face dark with suppressed fury. First time having some power, and she still wasn't used to it. I secretly cursed myself for being so useless, like a wild boar that can't eat fine bran. So I opened a bottle of wine to give myself some courage right before I passed out. Only one thought. No wonder she's the female lead. She really does have that halo. When I woke up again, it was already the next afternoon. Seraphina was in the kitchen, sneaking around doing something. She saw me and looked a little awkward. I asked, "So, how'd last night feel?" She scoffed. "Didn't feel anything." I gave a cold laugh. "Really? Funny, because last night you were." "Shut up," she shouted. I suddenly snapped back, voice dripping with sarcasm. "And who the hell are you to talk to me like that? You really think sleeping with me means you've climbed up the ladder? Let me tell you something, you're nothing but my plaything." Her deep black eyes looked at me steadily. Then she laughed. Her voice trembled as she said, "You're right. I'm your dog. It's my own damn fault." She turned and walked away. I wasn't about to chase her tantrum. I sat down and kept eating my lunch. As I ate, I asked Mr. Chun, "What kind of soup is this?" "Tastes pretty good," Mr. Chun answered. "Young master, this is pigeon soup with angelica and Cotinopsis. Miss Seraphina made it for you this morning." The second I heard it was made by Seraphina, I lost my appetite completely. After that day, my relationship with Seraphina dropped to freezing point. But I had plenty of ways to handle her. After all, her mother's entire treatment relied on me. If she wanted to visit the hospital, she'd have to bow her head, make me happy, and maybe I'd let her take a day off. Serafina had no choice but to trade her dignity for scraps of freedom. Still, she resisted in silence. She did everything I asked, but her face was ice cold the whole time. She placed the last dish on the table and stared at me coldly. Her message was obvious. She wanted a day off. I sneered inwardly. I said, "If you're asking for something, maybe don't do it with that shitty attitude. Who exactly do you think you're glaring at?" She gritted her teeth and said quietly, "I did everything you asked. Can I go see my mom today?" I crossed my arms. "Address me properly, or call me young Master Chun." Serafina's face turned purple with rage, but in the end she gave in and obediently called me young Master Chun. Chapter 7. Our relationship softened because of an accident. I was following her to her place to pick up some daily items and winter clothes. Honestly, I could have just bought all that for her in a snap, but she insisted she didn't deserve it. So fine, have it your way. It was my first time visiting Serafina's home. Her place was even smaller and shabbier than the hole I lived in back when I was a corporate slave. She lived on the 6th and top floor because the rent up there was cheaper. Originally, I had no intention of climbing 6 floors. I'd rather eat crap while standing on my head than go up all those stairs. Then Serafina said they'd just installed a new elevator this year, so I followed her up. On the way back down, the elevator suddenly dropped violently, and Serafina lunged into my arms. The elevator went pitch black. No matter what button we pressed, nothing responded. Terrified, Serafina clutched at me and whispered, "Victor, what do we do? Are we going to die in here?" Serafina had claustrophobia. She told me that one night after we'd finished fooling around, she'd begged me not to turn off the lights, said her parents were never around when she was a kid, so she was definitely afraid of the dark. Even now, she always sleeps with the lights on. Her whole body started shaking, forehead sweating. I said, "It's okay, someone will come get us out soon." She choked up. "I'm really scared, Victor. I don't want to die, my mom's still waiting for me. If we make it out, I'll listen to you from now on. I swear I won't be difficult anymore." Serafina's breathing grew rapid. She clung to me tightly. "Victor, please save me. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm suffocating." I was speechless. I opened my mouth ready to tell her to shut up. She was way too loud. When something soft suddenly pressed against my lips, my eyes widened as I stared at Serafina's trembling eyelashes just inches away. Then, ding, the elevator doors opened. Outside stood a few maintenance guys staring right at us. I was at a loss for words. Finally crawling out of that box, I sat down in the car and let out a long breath. Serafina stared at me intently, then asked in a cautious voice, "About that kiss earlier. What did you think?" I really have zero tolerance for stupidity. I said, "Are you insane? You were so desperate to stay alive, you tried to steal oxygen from my mouth, and now you're asking what I thought about it." Usually when I insult her, she goes cold, but this time her face turned red. She bit her lip and said, "Well, Victor, your mouth wasn't saying no when we kissed." And just like that, our dynamic shifted for no reason at all. From that day on, no matter how I scolded her, Serafina just took it with a smile. She completely transformed into a clingy kitten, constantly asking for kisses. One night after we'd exercised, she snuggled into my arms and said, "Let's go camping this weekend." I replied, "No." She pouted, "Come on, I'll grill barbecue for you." The second I heard barbecue, I hesitated for 3 seconds, then nodded in agreement. But instead of enjoying grilled meat with Serafina, we got kidnapped. We were tossed into an abandoned factory. I forced myself to stay calm, put on a smile and asked, "Hey brothers, how much do you want? Name a number, I'll pay." No need for all this unpleasant drama. We can settle this like adults. But it quickly became clear they weren't here for money. They were here for me. The Chun family had made plenty of enemies in business. Resentment followed naturally. And Victor, a brainless, vicious rich kid, he'd pissed off more people than anyone could count. A bald guy with tattooed arms looked at me and grinned. "No wonder they call you young Master Chun. Still trying to negotiate at a time like this. Let's see if you can still smile when we're roasting you alive." I offered him a sincere piece of advice, just saying, thinking only with your stomach will get you in trouble. Case in point, me. Baldy stuffed a rag into my mouth and snorted. What is it with kids these days and superstition? Right after those words left his mouth, he was suddenly tackled to the ground. "Told you," thinking only about food, instant bad luck. Serafina had somehow slipped out of her ropes and ambushed him, but she was still just a girl. Before long, she was pinned down again. I was going crazy but could only make muffled noises through the gag. Serafina's eyes were red as she tried to comfort me. I'm okay. Don't worry. Worry? No. I wanted to tell her. You idiot. You had the chance. You should have untied me. I'd have dealt with this moron in seconds. I started inching my way toward the door bit by bit, but then Serafina collapsed right in front of me, blocking my path. 100,000 alpacas were disco dancing in my heart. She was covered in injuries, her face pale. She reached out with a trembling hand. Victor, don't be sad. A single tear welled up in my eye, clinging to the edge but never falling. Serafina thought it was because I couldn't bear to leave her behind. Truth is, I couldn't bear to leave behind this life of luxury. I didn't want to die yet. Just then, police sirens rang out from outside the factory. Mr. Chun burst in with bodyguards and officers in tow. Young Master Chun, are you all right? Damn, my Mr. Chun, coolest man alive. Serafina stood frozen, staring in disbelief at the swarm of bodyguards and cops surrounding us. The other thugs instantly panicked. Whatever weapons they had dropped to the floor with a clatter. Baldy grabbed Serafina roughly and shouted, You little bee, you called the cops. You're the one who hired us to stage this fake kidnapping, and now you're selling us out. If he was going down, he'd take her with him. But the police pinned him down instantly. Still, he twisted around and shouted at me. Young Master Chun, it was all her. She planned the whole thing. She wanted to trick you into falling for her, so she could steal your fortune. Don't let that fool you. Serafina immediately turned toward me, panic all over her face, trying to explain. But then she saw my calm expression, arms crossed, cool and composed like I had everything under control. Her gaze shifted, then suddenly she laughed coldly. She bit her lip. Victor, you really know how to play the game. I looked down at her from above and smirked. Without you, how could there be today's mantis stalking the cicada and the cicada eating the mantis? Besides the kidnapping today, you and Kaido have a few financial crimes to deal with too. Better start thinking what you'll tell the police. As she was taken away, eyes red, Serafina asked, Did you ever love me? Even just for a second? I sighed. God, what a cliché line. You really think you're the heroine of some novel. I watched Serafina being led away by the police and slowly exhaled. Victor, I've avenged you. I personally sent both the male and female leads to prison. The mission to conquer the female lead had failed. That meant I'd be returning to my original world. I slowly felt my strength and consciousness fading. A long sigh in my heart. Back to being a corporate slave again. Huh? Chapter 8. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a hospital. I called out, System, are you still there? I had never so desperately wanted to hear that annoying voice in my life. The system's voice rang out, absolutely thrilled. Still here. You just fainted from low blood sugar. That's all. The Supreme God reviewed your feedback and changed the mission parameters at the last minute. But he was super pissed you went off script. I got docked 800 gold beans. But then, because of your outstanding performance, I was rewarded 1,000 beans. Hee hee. I rolled my eyes. If I'd waited for your Supreme God to approve everything, I would have died 800 times by now. The system continued. Because of your valuable suggestions, the Supreme God granted you a special privilege. You can now choose your mission and time freely. Use any in time. That meant I could stay in this world for as long as I damn well pleased. I let out a snort that sounded like a pig squealing. One of life's 3 greatest. Getting promoted, making money, and the wife dying. Extra chapter. Yes, I was the one who called the police. Because this entire kidnapping scheme was orchestrated by Serafina herself. The whole goal was to win my trust. I had suspected for a while that Serafina was no saint. When she started going to the hospital more and more frequently, I knew something was off. So I had someone look into it quietly. Turned out this girl had already rekindled her affair with the male lead behind my back. Not only that, they'd already started building a business together. After all, they had the halo of being protagonists and a steady 100K a month coming from me. Of course, they were on their way to becoming the next tech golden couple of City A. I stood outside the hospital room, watching them share a happy little moment through the glass. I felt nothing but disgust. She came from my bed and turned right around into the arms of the male lead, spending my money while whispering sweet nothings to someone else. At the time, even the system was frustrated with me. It's now or never, it said. You've had your fun. If you don't start conquering the female lead now, she's really going to end up with the male lead. And when that happens, your ending will be a disaster. I laughed and replied, so why bother conquering her at all? Wouldn't it be better to destroy her clean and simple? Strike her while she's down. For a woman who was destined to be the end of me, trying to redeem her with love was just laughably naive. Victor, the original Victor, was nothing but a narrative device crafted by the author to deepen the bond between the male and female leads. He fell for the female lead under the control of the plot, even went as far as to donate his kidney to her mother. And in return, she ruined his family and left him with a life full of misery. Classic case. The leads get to live. The side characters are just cannon fodder. But now that I'd taken over Victor's body, it was only right that I settle the score. That is what a conqueror is truly meant to do. The system was silent for a few seconds. It clearly wanted to argue, but didn't know how. I pressed on. Imagine if the original Victor knew the guy who replaced him ended up falling in love with his enemy instead of getting revenge. Don't you think he'd be pissed enough to come back from the dead just to get even? Finally, the system caved. You know what? You're right. Why should we always have to conquer the female lead? Wouldn't it be better to eliminate her? But of course, the higher-ups at System HQ kept assigning these same old missions. The system's voice turned serious. Hold up, don't act rashly. I'll go put in a request to the higher authorities. I blinked. You guys have upper management? The system rolled its eyes. Obviously. We've got an entire bureaucratic structure. Do you know how many gold beans I've lost because of you? I said nothing, but I was in a good mood, so I let it go. No need to bicker today. After that, I watched Serafina's performance like a monkey show. The coldness, the fake concern, the jealousy, even the elevator accident, every bit of it had been meticulously scripted by her. Even that kiss, just a ploy to make Victor emotionally invested enough to willingly donate his kidney to her mom someday. Manipulative, pretentious coquette, that's what she was. Always scheming. Victor might have fallen for it, but I wouldn't. What I didn't expect was that I'd be this good, able to convince the system itself to switch sides and take down the female lead with me. And I actually pulled it off. Granted, the price I paid was steep. I had to kiss her, sleep with her. But hey, to make it up to myself, I went ahead and ordered 10 top-tier 3,060 lingerie models as consolation. Right now, I'm lounging in a private estate that's over 2,000 square meters wide, sipping wine, soaking in the sun. This ridiculously rich life, I can keep living it for as long as I want.